everyone. I'm Gabby Talbot, and today I'm going to talk to you about why everyone needs a cheerleader. I wasn't nervous until everybody just got out and left just before I started talking, but hey-ho, we'll carry on. So I work in co-op technology, and you might think that in the co-op we are full of shopkeepers, but that's not the case. We have a large technology community where we look after everything from our in-store tills to the software that organises our funerals, to our supply chain system and our in-store offers app that I definitely recommend you download to get some vouchers off your shopping. I work in the office of the CTO, which is a fairly new team that we've set up that's got 15 colleagues in it. And in that, I'm the strategic technology delivery manager, which means that I look after all of our portfolio delivery. So that can be projects, programs, products, durable teams, and everything in between. And trying to corral that is a big challenge. I've been at the co-op for 12 years. But the last 8 of those have been in tech, and I've moved around to a couple of different teams and departments in that time, but mainly focused on project and delivery management. I'm also co-chair of Aspire, which is our colleague network that champions women in co-op. We are a completely volunteer-led group that's got 50 volunteers and 1,100 members up and down the country. It's open to all of our colleagues, and we work to raise awareness around issues which affect women. We run a co-op-wide mentoring program, a career development scheme. We run coffee mornings around menopause, child-free by choice, and fertility. And we also run campaigns around safety, women in the workplace, hormonal health, just to mention a few. In 2019, I did Becky's Tech Future Female Leaders course in co-op. It was a really great course, and then I came along to the first Reframe conference in 2019, and then that's what's inspired me to come along here today, although I think we've all got an excuse for why the break has been so long. You might be able to tell from my accent that I'm from Manchester. I've moved around the country a little bit in different parts of the world, but I've settled back in Manchester and now live down the road in Chorlton with my husband. This is my first time doing a real-life talk of this length into this size room, even though there's lots of empty chairs. So please be gentle with me, but I would really value any feedback that you've got. Equally, do seek me out and some of my colleagues from Co-op Technology if you want to know what it's like to work there or to know about our women's network. Okay, so why do I think everyone needs a cheerleader, and why have I come here today to tell you about it? Well, in 2018, I did a leadership development scheme. And as part of that, I got access to some professional coaching. And I didn't really know what that was at the time. So I didn't know how to prepare. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't really know what was going to happen. But after the first couple of sessions, it started to become clear that this was going to be more around me being guided to the answers for myself and working through things with a round of questions. I found this really, really empowering. Not only did it help to give me some structure around the way that I would solve problems or approach things, but it also very much put me in the driving seat of decisions I was making and how I was going to approach things. I still use a lot of those techniques now, and I do use them with my colleagues and peers as well to try and get them to work through things in a logical way. After that development scheme finished, I then made a commitment to get an exec mentor. And so this was somebody that I approached who I thought was a very charismatic leader, which was something that I really wanted to start to emulate and learn from, but was also very senior, had been in a lot of senior roles in large organizations for a long time. And so for 6 or 7 months, we met once a month and would talk about things that were happening in my career, start to think about how some of those might be able to build towards my next career step. But as opposed to the coaching, these sort of sessions focus much more on advice and direct guidance rather than me being guided to find the answer for myself. And so then came the sponsor. I know I'm collecting my personal board here, as Sarah would say. I quite like to call it my squad, but I've collected another role here in a sponsor. So what is a sponsor? A sponsor is somebody who puts your name in the frame for high-profile opportunities. But the really important part with this role is that they need to have influence. They need to be around the decision-making table so that they can influence those decisions and make sure that you're more visible. And so, whereas the coaching and mentoring that I talked about and had been doing for 18 months or so by this point were more around career development and personal development, the role of the sponsor started to become more of a career accelerator. So putting me forward for things that I probably wouldn't put my hand up for myself because maybe I thought I didn't quite have the full skill set, but making me more visible for those high-profile opportunities so that the learnings and successes that came from those would be more visible to people around me. In doing some research for this talk, I read an article that said high-potential women are often over-mentored but under-sponsored. And so it really made me think that actually we do talk a lot around mentoring, coaching, cheerleading, but sponsorship doesn't come up as often, but it's a really crucial part of helping us to be our best and to reach our potential. And so when I reflect on my own career, I definitely can see that I've had some visible sponsors that have been supporting me throughout, whether that be a line manager or a head of department that has put me forward for something. But I think there's been some invisible ones as well, or people just in the background sort of surreptitiously doing things that I didn't know about. And some of these I've only found out about quite a few months or even years after I've done the opportunity or I've taken advantage of that. And so I don't want to take away from anybody's achievements, and I'm certainly not taking away from mine. But the point I want to get across is that there's lots of different roles and the personal board that Sarah talked about. You can't do this on your own. And as Jenny said, anybody that claims that is lying. You need people around you to support you. So moving on to the cheerleader then. So I'll start with a bit of a definition, because this was a fairly new term to me. I've probably only known it for 2 years or so. But I'm not talking about somebody standing next to an American football pitch that's got pom-poms and jumps on the top of a human pyramid. I'm talking about somebody who is an enthusiastic and vocal supporter. Somebody who knows the things that you're good at and all of the things that you've achieved. And they don't mind telling other people about all the things that you're good at and all the things that you've achieved, because we don't like to share those too much, do we? Someone that gives you the oomph and the confidence to keep going when you might be thinking that you've run out of energy or resilience. But equally, someone who shares in all of your successes without any judgment, jealousy, envy. They're just simply thrilled that you've done well and want to be involved in that. And if they've had a part to play, then even better, but just genuinely thrilled. So why have I come to tell you this today? Well, I'm somebody who would describe herself as confident, competent, and the obverse to Zoe, I am an extrovert. I like talking things through. I do, anybody that's worked with me or has been with me will know that I like to talk through problems to solve them. I like to work through scenarios in collaboration with other people. Certainly working through situations that are happening, maybe emotions, and working through those. And the phrase Gabby by name, Gabby by nature has been uttered on more than one occasion. So if somebody like me that has a level of confidence, and that can obviously be different for different people, but somebody that feels confident naturally, if I need somebody in my corner reminding me that I can do this, reminding me of all those great things that I've done before, reminding me of all those little successes that we heard about this morning, then I think most other people would say that they'd like somebody to help them as well. So how do you get a cheerleader? Well, it's not as straightforward as approaching somebody as you might do for a mentoring relationship or a coaching relationship. It's a less formal relationship, and I think is more nuanced. So I think this needs to be somebody that you already know, an existing relationship. And I would recommend that it's somebody that's in your wider department or organisation. And I say this because I think they need to understand the context that you're operating in and the optics and perspectives that are there. Earlier this morning, we talked about you're able to get rid of a lot of the detail or the context if it's somebody that already knows where you're operating and where you're coming from. Somebody who knows you on more than a superficial level. So somebody who might know you more personally. Maybe they met you in a professional capacity, but they know you on a more personal level. And this is because they need to understand your motivations and values. And they need to know these so that they can truly empathize with you. And I'm using empathy here with the Brené Brown definition in mind of connection. I know we had a Brené Brown quote up earlier today, and if you haven't read or looked at any of her work, then I would encourage you to, because she's amazing. So let's think of someone that might be a cheerleader in your life. Someone who is a good listener, someone who can understand that perspective and context that we've just talked about, someone with an eye for detail, or maybe it's an ear for detail if they're a good listener, and someone who remembers things about you. And this isn't because they're nosy, it's because they're genuinely interested in what's going on in your life and interested in how you're progressing. So when I was reflecting on the cheerleaders that I've had in my life, somebody definitely came through from a work perspective. So a few years ago, I got a new line manager. And when she landed, because she was new to the co-op, she was just one of these people that just had everything under control. Really strong from a technical perspective. Also great on being really personable, approachable, human, authentic, all of those things. She had 2 degrees, 15 years of experience in technology, 3 kids, successful career. She sounds like she doesn't exist, but she does. I know her, she's a real person. But when I started to work for her, it became obvious very quickly that she was someone that I wanted to have in my life. And a couple of other people had approached her to be their mentor, but I used my one-to-ones and got to know her really well and got to share what my career aspirations were and how she could help me. I can remember coming back to the bank of desks one time with in a bit of a rage because a project that I'd been working on had been deprioritized without any consideration for the people that were actually doing the delivery, and was really annoyed about that. And she just very calmly said to me, "It's okay that you feel like this. In fact, it's good that you feel like this because it means that you care about the work that you're doing." And it really dawned on me. I was like, well, yes, I do really care about the work that I'm doing. And I probably think about that time, probably once a month when things are getting a bit much or when I feel a bit like, oh, that thing is so frustrating. And I just think it's because I care about the work that I do. And I have been known to pass that advice on as my own in the past as well. And so when I moved to a different team, but we decided to keep that connection together, would have 30 minutes in the diary that would be around keeping up to date with what was going on in my new team, her team, even the broader context of what was happening in co-op technology. But we'd also keep in touch on a personal basis as well. And so during these times, it was a really great opportunity to share things that were going on. And she just has an amazing knack to drop in every now and again all those things that we've just talked about, reminding you of the things that you've done in the past, reminding you of all of the things that you're good at and how those skills will equip you to take on this next challenge. Just last week, I was presenting back some group work to a group of technology leaders, and this person was in my group. And so we had a quick chat before just to make sure that what was on the slides was clear and I was explaining it in the right way. And she signed off the call with a really short, "I know you'll be great." I wasn't nervous about it. I wasn't feeling unconfident about it. But that little lift just made me think, she thinks I'm going to do really well at this. And then it helped me to be even more confident then when I was presenting back. So how do you get a cheerleader? Well, this is the trick. In order to get yourself a cheerleader or a cheer squad, you yourself need to become one. By starting with small, positive acts of praise and support, other people will start to gravitate towards you because they see you as a supportive force. They'll also then start to reciprocate. This then builds a culture of psychological safety, support, and recognition. Some people might say that cheerleaders are born, not made. And I don't think that I 100% agree with that. So true, there are some people that are more glass half full and might always be able to see the positive side. And some people do naturally love to celebrate and elevate the achievements of others. But it does require a little bit of training, and I think anybody can do it. So why not make a commitment to yourself to start by doing something small? It might be praising somebody regularly. Maybe it's an instant message on whatever platform you use. Maybe it's committing to nominate somebody for a more formal recognition scheme. Maybe it's ending a call with, "I know you're going to be great." A few years ago, I worked on a large program, and we used to do regular retros, and as part of one of those, one of my colleagues shared that she was feeling really low. She'd been working really hard, had been making herself constantly available to all of the senior people that she was working with, but she'd still got some negative feedback, and she was just feeling like, what's this all for? Am I even doing the right thing? She got quite emotional in the meeting, and I think everybody that was there couldn't fail to be moved and impacted by the raw emotion that she shared and the vulnerability that she shared. After the meeting, I wrote her a quick note just to say, first of all, that it was really brave of her to be that vulnerable and that open with the group of people. Then saying that I felt genuinely sad that that was the way that somebody else had made her feel, and that it was a senior person that hadn't appreciated the shadow that they cast. I also reminded her of a lot of the things that she was good at, and a lot of the things that she'd achieved in the recent past. We now keep in touch on a semi-regular basis, and she's moved on into a much more senior role where she's got a lot of influence. But I still drop her messages reminding her of things that she's done, and because she's much more visible now across the organisation, I can see her and provide little bits of feedback and praise on the things that she's doing. Equally, she's been a really big supporter of the work that I've been doing with the Women's Network. And so I'm going to wrap up now, even though it says I've got more time, but okay. Finally, so I hope from my talk today, you will see how I've used these different supporting relationships in my career to create my squad. So the coach guiding me to the answers for myself, the mentor sharing expertise and experience, the sponsor putting my name in the frame for those high-profile opportunities, and the cheerleader, always there with a mighty cheer, but with kind words and support when my resilienceometer is running on empty. So I'll repeat what I said earlier. We can't do this on our own. We need people around us. I'd encourage you to think about the squad that you've got around you and how you can be part of other people's squads to support them. Having a cheerleader is really lovely, but I genuinely believe it's an opportunity that is available to everybody. So please go and grab it. Thank you.